Okay, so I'm going to introduce everybody to the webinar. So my name is Sarah Botterill, and I am the Marketing Manager for Free Services at AbilityNet. It's been a real collaboration bringing this webinar together in what are, as we're all aware, quite unusual and challenging times. So massive thanks to our own volunteer Lawrence for joining today, and also to everyone at the Stroke Association who has worked really hard to pull this together. We're joined today by Laura, and there are some other people as well who've helped to put this webinar together, who have joined from the Stroke Association as well. So welcome everybody. And I will just ask if, Laura, would you like to just say a quick hello?
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm a helpline officer for the Stroke Association. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about a couple of apps today in the webinar.
Fantastic. Lawrence, do you want to say a quick hi?
Hello, yes, I'm Lawrence. I'm a volunteer for AbilityNet and have been working quite closely with Yvonne Hobbs at the Stroke Association in Milford-on-Sea.
Brilliant, thanks Lawrence. Okay, so we'll move into the webinar now. I'll just give you a quick overview. So the webinar is going to explore how technology can help stroke survivors and people caring for them. Just before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. So live captions are available during the webinar. After the webinar, we'll be making all the slides available. There are a couple at the end that have got some really brilliant signposting to further information from ourselves and from the Stroke Association. So we'll be making those available afterwards, and you should receive an email which will have all the links to where you can find that. As Mark's already said, please use the Q&A window to ask questions. If you've got general chat, there's a chat box there, and my colleague Mark is monitoring that for me. And we'll also be requesting any feedback afterwards, which will help us to continue improving our webinars going forwards. So welcome everybody. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, we are going to cover why we're working together, why this partnership is so important. As Lawrence said, he's been working with very closely with a local group in Milford-on-Sea, and I'll just be asking him a few questions about that and how that's been going. We are going to share My Stroke Guide, which is a fantastic online resource from the Stroke Association, really helpful. It also acts as a gateway to some online support from Stroke as well. Then Laura will give us an overview of some apps which are useful, and Lawrence will briefly introduce us to some alternative input devices which are particularly helpful for people who are stroke survivors. And then there'll be some time at the end for a Q&A, but in the meantime, yeah, do keep popping stuff in the Q&A box, or yeah, and we'll carry on from there. So first, a poll. We'll be having some polls as we go through today. Just trying to launch the poll. I'm having a problem here. Hang on 1 second. Oh, hang on. Okay, Mark, I'm just struggling to launch the poll.
Have you got the polling window up on screen?
I have, but it won't let me drag it up.
Did you want to try and close your minimize the presentation window? Sure.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can't see it at all. Apologies, everybody. Just a few technical issues here. I'm just going to end the show for a second and see if I can go back to polling. Okay, so launch poll. Okay, can everybody see a poll on screen now? Mark, can you see the poll? Okay.
It hasn't appeared for me. Have you clicked the launch poll button?
I have, yeah.
I can't see it either.
Nobody's saying they can see it, Sarah. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's saying in progress on my screen, so
Do you want to stop the poll and see if you can relaunch it? I think that it's the same for everyone. I'm getting a lot of messages in chat saying they
okay.
can't see the poll.
Okay, relaunch poll. Here we go. Can everybody see it now?
Yeah, there you go. I think everyone should be able to see that now.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. So there are a few questions here. I'll just run through them while everyone has a quick go at responding. So just want to know why you're attending the webinar. Are you a stroke survivor, healthcare professional, a carer, or other? And in the case of other, if you don't mind just popping something in the chat window, that would be great. So I'm just going to allow another 30 seconds or so to allow everyone time to respond. So we've got quite a few other okay, a couple more seconds and then I'll just end the poll. Okay, so can everyone see the results there?
I think you just need to hit share results.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Is everybody able to see the results? So I'll just run through them. So we have got 33% healthcare professionals, 2% carers, 10% stroke survivor, and quite a few other. So it'd be interesting to look at that in a bit more detail and send some feedback on that. So thanks everyone for taking part. I'm just going to go back to my presentation now. Is everybody okay with seeing my screen now? You should have something that says working in partnership. So this is just to talk about why AbilityNet and the Stroke Association are working together. We're a really good match in terms of organisations, lots of passion across both organisations. And one of the things that we have in common is that AbilityNet have a strong local footprint in terms of the IT volunteers who we have working across the UK. And as I've already mentioned, Lawrence has joined us today. In normal circumstances, they would be offering free at-home support. We're obviously not able to do that currently, but it is business as usual for us. And we are offering a free helpline still at this time. And our volunteers are also able to provide remote support. So yeah, in terms of the Stroke Association, similarly, they have a strong local network of support groups. And I know there's lots of work going on in terms of promoting where people can continue to get support, and there are some slides coming up on that later. AbilityNet exists to create a digital world which is accessible to everyone. We use our IT expertise to help people get online or to adapt their technology, including for stroke survivors. We also, the Stroke Association, as I've mentioned, offer amazing online support through My Stroke Guide. We'll be giving you a quick overview of that later, but there's all sorts of information, support, access to other people who you can connect to with that as well. In terms of AbilityNet, we support people living with any disability or impairment to use technology to achieve their goals. Primarily today's focus is at home, but we also do that for people who in work or in education as well. And for the Stroke Association, a strong focus on helping people rebuild their lives after a stroke. So Lawrence, just a reminder to pop yourself off mute there. Great. So Lawrence, it'd be great to hear a little bit about the work that you've been doing locally in Milford-on-Sea. So when did that relationship start and how did it start?
I've been working with Yvonne Hobbs at the Milford-on-Sea Stroke Association for 2 years. It started as a result of an AbilityNet client that I was asked to help by the village agent for Age Concern. He's a 90-year-old man who was writing a book and had problems with his laptop. And after that, that was successfully concluded. I then had a contact from the village agent again saying that the Stroke Association in Milford had been donated some iPads, and could I possibly talk to Yvonne Hobbs about helping. So we had a series of sessions and decided that what we would do would be to start off with a presentation day where we presented how to use an iPad. That particular session I thought didn't go as well as it might have done, mainly because people were looking at me rather than the screen. But I do think something's got out of it. But then what happened after that is that we started to work on a one-to-one basis, which was a lot more successful in imparting knowledge to people.
And in terms of, so that's quite a regular thing now, isn't it? How often do you get together in terms, is it monthly, is it weekly? Tell us a little bit about that regular ongoing connection.
Well, it started off weekly, but once we got beyond the stage of getting the stroke members a bit better up to speed and able to use their devices, it then changed to monthly. And each month the idea is that the people elect to come and talk to me about issues or problems that they may be having, and we work on resolving those problems. But if it's needed to be more often, then that happens.
That's great, and I think that's quite an important point, isn't it? Because one of the things that we try and do at AbilityNet is to empower people so that they can learn themselves. So you're just there, it sounds like, now for a bit of troubleshooting. So in terms of...
And it's also, I mean, we're quite flexible. So at one point we had a stroke survivor that had moved house, and BT had left him without internet, television, no access at all. And I was able to visit his house and get everything up and running again.
Brilliant. And that's one success, but maybe you'd like to share with us one of the biggest successes that you've had so far. It'd be great to hear about that in terms of working together.
Yes, certainly. I mean, one of the most amazing things to me was learning about the stroke survivors and the fact that inside their head they are just the person that they used to be all the time. The thing that's needed is gaining their confidence and their ability to work with me as an instructor. So in many ways, the biggest success was actually getting the confidence from those people. And then from moving on to that, it was a lot easier to instruct them on not only the devices, but various different apps that can help. I've worked in IT since 1971, which may be old, but finding an app for somebody is not the difficult thing. The difficult thing is getting it started in the first place and gaining the confidence of the people to actually work with their devices.
So it's about relationship, I think, in the same way that Stroke Association and AbilityNet are working together. And I wonder if there have been any particular challenges along the way. Can you tell us about a challenge you faced and how you overcame that?
Yes, I mean, the challenges are helping helping the people to learn, and realizing that there is no one size fits all, and different people have different skills and disabilities. So the challenge is finding the right way of helping each individual overcome their particular disability as a result of a stroke, and using the computer to communicate so that technology can help them.
Great. Okay, so I'll just move on now to my stroke guide, which we've talked about a little bit already. As I say, it's a fantastic resource for people. It's a web-based app for stroke survivors, and as I say, it gives access to online forums. Very importantly, it was an exercise in co-creation, so it's something that's been created by the Stroke Association, but with and for the people who really need it. It's free, trusted information. There's an online video library. Yeah, you do need to register for it, but that's quite a simple process, and then you'll have access to lots of free online information and the ability to connect with others. So hopefully this will work. I have a video embedded in this presentation as a demo. One sec. Mark, for some reason that's not working.
Can you hover just on the bottom left of the video just to see if it brings up controls, or?
It's not, no.
Can you exit the presenter view to see if you can play it from just...
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's working. Okay, great. Thank you. Does that work? It's showing the play button now, but still not doing it. Okay. Sorry folks, just bear with us while we get this working. Yeah, Mark, it's not doing anything, I'm afraid.
I guess you could either, we can either share it afterwards, or otherwise you could try and bring it up in your browser, but you need to share the screen you're sharing.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let me, because this worked in rehearsals. Best laid plans, everybody. Just give me 1 second and I will see if I can bring it up in my browser. Okay, this is the one that I want. Okay.
So you'll just need to hit the share button again on your Zoom menu and share the window with the video in it, Sarah.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to find that. New share, is that the one?
Yeah, that's it.
And I hit desktop. And browser, play. So I can make this full screen. Sorry, everyone.
It hasn't updated for me. I'm not sure if it's just a slow connection, but I can still see the presentation.
Okay, right. Okay, well, I think what we'll do is we'll share a link to that afterwards because I'm having a few technical gremlins here. Sorry, everybody, just bear with us. Just try one more time. Yeah, it's showing as it should play, but it's not working for some reason. So, I'll go back to my presenter view. Okay, really sorry about that, everyone. Just move on to our next poll. So, hang on, let me. So, just 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to launch the second poll and see if everybody can see that. Mark, can you see that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm aware we haven't actually been able to show the video, but if people could just tell us if they were aware of My Stroke Guide before or no, and whether you would be interested in using the resource. As I say, we'll share the video afterwards, but it really is a fantastic way of keeping in touch and finding out more free information. So I'll just give another few seconds for everybody to hit their answers in that one. You can see the numbers still changing. Just give you another 5 seconds. So another couple of seconds now. Great. So just share the results with everybody. Looks like we've got a almost 50-50 split there in terms of people who are aware of the resource before. So 52% versus 48%. Lots of interest, which is fantastic to see. So 38% very likely to use it now, 46% likely, 15% undecided, and unlikely 2%. So as I say, we'll share the details afterwards, and the links will be at the end. We will share some links so that you can get access to all the details for that. So Laura, if you're ready, I will just hand over to you to talk us through some of the apps that you've been researching for us. You need to come off mute if that's okay.
Thanks, Sarah. That's great. Hi everybody. One of the apps that I've been looking at is specifically an aphasia app for people that are affected by stroke. This app is called I Name It, and what it does is it helps individuals who have difficulty recalling the names of common items found in their home. Basically the way the app works is you can select from 5 different rooms. So the rooms, the bathroom, the bedroom, the garage, the kitchen and the living room. And in each setting, there's 10 objects that you can identify, and each object has 5 levels of queuing. So for example, in the bathroom, you can click on the bath and then you would get 5 different queue types. The first one might be a word completion. So you might be given like the first 2 letters, so BA, and then you'd be asked to fill in the next 2 letters. Semantic, so where you soak to get clean. Phonetic, so B, A, T, H. They would spell that out to you. A word completion, so it would be something like go soak in a hot and then blank, you have to fill in the blank. Or semantic, so something which is related to the meaning of the object, for example, bathtub. So I feel like the app would be really useful for people who have aphasia because it helps them to practice kind of finding words that would help them on a daily basis, because these are common kind of household objects. And yeah, it's just kind of very, I suppose, practical and has very everyday applications for people. Speech and language therapists can help people who have got communication problems, so they can provide specific advice for people that have got communication problems. But the app is a good way, perhaps, of practicing those words in your own home, and you can access that on iOS. It's only available on iPad. I believe it is free to download. So that's the first app that I've been looking at.
And Laura, there are many more, aren't there? And the link there, which is a link to our blog post, and I think you've shared again at the end of the slide deck, there's a link to a sort of quite large online resource so that people can have a look around and find an app that suits them. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, this is just one app of many different types that you can get. We'd always encourage people to speak to a speech and language therapist to get kind of specific exercises, but these just give you a bit of an idea about things that you can practice in your own home.
Brilliant. Okay, so if I move on to your next category,
Yeah.
if I can, hang on. There we go.
Yeah, so the second app that I looked at is the Cozy Family Organizer, specifically for people who have got cognitive problems. The reason that the purpose of Cozy Family Organizer is it helps to kind of coordinate everybody's schedules. You can track shopping lists, you can manage to-do lists, you can keep everybody on the same page. I feel like the app would be really useful for somebody who's got memory problems perhaps, or finds organisation difficult, because the whole family can use the same app and everything gets kind of synced together. All you have to do is basically download the app, create an account, and then everybody's kind of schedules go into one kind of main calendar, I suppose. So everybody can kind of see what each other's doing. This one is available on Android and iOS, so you can get it on both kind of setups, and it is free as well to download.
Great. And again, we'll be sharing some details after the webinar of where people can find details of other similar apps which might be useful to them. Thanks for giving us that overview. Just put yourself back on mute, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. So we come to our third poll now. Just get that one set up for everybody. So this is just to ask about how your stroke has impacted you or somebody close to you. It'd be really interesting to find out a bit more information about your own personal experiences here. So I'll just launch the poll. I think you'll see there are some options coming up there. So we've talked a little bit already about aphasia, some of the language issues that people can face. Obviously can cause anxiety as well. Many people will experience muscle weakness, cognition. We've talked about cognitive understanding and fatigue. So yeah, it'd be great if you could just answer those. I think you should be able to answer, tick multiple options here as well. So as before, just give you a few seconds to answer some of those questions. Getting quite a lot of others here as well. So again, it'd be interesting to look into that afterwards and see what your personal experiences are. A couple more seconds. Just end the poll there. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I'll just share the results with you. As I said, there's quite a lot of other coming up here, which I think comes back to what Lawrence was saying actually, and something that we're very aware of, which is that everybody's experience is individual and unique. I'm seeing some language and communication issues, 12% people being affected by that. So yeah, we will be interested to look at that in a bit more detail and share that information afterwards as well. So Lawrence, back to you. I think you were just going to give us a very brief overview of some input devices and some adaptations which you're familiar with. So if you could just give us a brief overview here, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. The first device I wanted to talk about is OrCam. I should have listed that amongst the successes because one of the stroke survivors at Milford actually purchased one of those. It was fairly difficult to get it set up properly, but once it was set up, it really works quite well. The device comes with a pair of spectacles that are clear lensed, and you look at the page or screen that you want to read, and you hold your hand out and point at the page, object or screen that you want it to talk to you about, and the device then takes a picture, and from the picture it reads the content. It works pretty well actually, but it is quite expensive. I think it's more than £3,000. But they have now brought out a new device, which is a handheld one. So if you don't wear glasses, you can hold this in your hand and it works in exactly the same way. Speaking Email is an app that will speak the contents of your email inbox. It's quite inexpensive, 20 odd pounds, I think, for a year. And again, it's one that has to be set up carefully so that the speed is right and the type of voice is right. But it will actually do as it says on the tin. It's quite good and not expensive. Sounding Board is an icon-based app. It only runs on iOS, on iPads or iPhones, and it's icon-based, and you're presented with a screen with different pictures on it. It may well be that you have a picture of a bathroom, it may be a bedroom, it could be something you want to do. The choice is yours in terms of what you can get, and you touch the icon and it speaks what's pre-recorded behind it. The app itself comes with a standard set of icons, but if they're not appropriate, it is possible to actually create your own specialist ones.
Okay.
I think probably what would be a good idea is in the response that we send after this, we could put the contact details for each of these items.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. Just another example of how technology can help there. Brilliant. Thanks, Lawrence. If you want to put yourself back on, that'd be great. So this is our fourth and final poll, which I'll just launch now. So this is to find out if you are interested in following up with some information on this, specifically to do with how technology can help stroke survivors, and also if you're interested in some support from an AbilityNet volunteer in the future. As I say, in normal circumstances, we would be providing that face-to-face. But it is very much business as usual, and we are still here to support anybody remotely through the helpline and with a variety of online resources, which we will happily share with people as well. So just give everyone another few seconds to just respond. Okay, just a couple more. Share those results with everyone. So yeah, fantastic response. So in terms of specifically relating to people who are stroke survivors, huge appetite in terms of finding out. 94% of people interested in finding out how technology can support them there. And then in terms of support from an AbilityNet volunteer, roughly 50-50 split there. So 49% saying yes and 51% saying no. So that's fantastic. And there'll be lots of ways of getting in touch, as we say, at the end of this presentation. So here we come to our Q&A. Just a reminder for this section to please use the Q&A window and not the chat window there. And I will just go to sort out my window so that I can see some of the questions that are coming through. So just bear with me 1 second. Q&A. Let me just see if I can see what questions are coming through. Okay, so there's a couple of questions here already. So this one I think is probably for some of you guys. So it says, can we work with occupational therapists when using the technology to ascertain cognitive ability? I don't know if somebody from the Stroke Association would like to respond to that one and say how, if you are working with occupational therapists, as you've mentioned speech and language therapists, Laura, is this something that you're able to respond to? In terms of whether we're working with occupational therapists to work out the right cognitive ability and select just the right technology. Is that something that you can speak to?
I'm not sure about that. Probably need to look at it maybe and come back to them, but not off the top of my head.
Okay, great. So we'll come back to you on that one. Yeah.
It's Sean here from Hi Folks.
Oh, hi, Sean.
Head of the Stroke Helpline. Trish, we don't work directly with occupational therapists to ascertain cognitive ability, particularly using technology. But what we can do is if you have somebody that you want to talk through, have a client that you're working with or a patient that you're working with, and you want to talk through a particular case, we can talk that through with you on the helpline. We won't give specific kind of medical advice, and you know, obviously our knowledge around stroke is generalist. It's not tech specific, but we can certainly have a conversation with you on the helpline, and the details will come up at the end of the slide deck now.
That's great. Thanks ever so much for that, Sean. In terms of, there is a question here about finding out whether there are volunteers like Lawrence in the local area, and you can go through to our helpline for that. So we will be sharing the details of that at the end of the slide deck as well. We do have 300 volunteers, but at the moment, as I say, we're providing remote support. So yeah, we will be able to do that. Just scrolling through questions here. Do we have video demonstrations of the tech or apps that we have mentioned today? So unfortunately we had that technical glitch, but we will share the link to my stroke guide in particular. Some brilliant video demonstrations which Stroke Association have posted on YouTube and also on their own site, and we will make sure that we share the links to that afterwards. In terms of the apps, we don't have any video demonstrations of the apps available, but we do have a long list of apps that you can use. And as I say, our volunteers would be very willing to support people if they needed any help with those there. So I'm just having another scroll through the questions here. Lawrence, there's a specific question. There's a couple coming up around ORCAM. One about the alternative that you mentioned and whether you know a price on that. I don't know if you do, but I'm sure we could look into it for people.
I don't know a price for it, but I can certainly find it out, and you can include it in the pack that you sent out.
Yeah, great. And there's a similar question about the sounding board app. I don't know if you know what the cost of that one is.
It's free.
It's free. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm just going through some questions here. Are we able to remotely support individuals to set up apps and programs? We are. We do have a system set up for providing remote support, and we can share some details at the end of the presentation and afterwards about how to do that as well. Specific question here from Vicky, speech and language therapist. If I were to go out and carry out an assessment and felt the patient would benefit from using apps and hadn't used computers before, are you able to come out and provide support? Would I just need to contact you guys? Yeah, yes is the answer to that. I'm sure we would be able to provide that support from a local volunteer. Obviously, at the moment, we're unable to do face-to-face support for people, but we are very willing to be involved with the local stroke association groups and to support people who need that support. Just scrolling through again. There's one about support in India in terms of affordable technology, which I don't instantly have an answer to, but welcome from a long way away. I'm sure we can look into that and see if there are if there's some support there. So just scrolling through. Okay, suggestion about running a virtual group while we can't meet in person. I don't know if, Sean, I don't know if there's anything that you're aware of in terms of the support that you're providing at the moment, or if you have anything running in terms of virtual groups. Is that one that you can take there?
Which I can't find that question.
Sorry, it just says, have you suggestions about running a virtual group while we can't meet in person?
Okay. At the moment, the Stroke Association is looking at an alternative way of supporting people. The priority for us at the moment is to be connecting with people, and we'll be doing that through the phone, as that's the kind of quickest and easiest way. We are also then looking at how we can develop that, including online and virtual groups. So no definites at the moment, but things are moving pretty quickly our end, so watch this space.
And I should add as well that in terms of keeping in touch during this challenging time, and we can share that again afterwards, we've been working behind the scenes to pull together something called AbilityNet Live, which will be a series of free weekly webinars, and Stroke Association is kindly partnering with us there as well. And that will have lots of tips for people on how to use things like Zoom video conferencing, how to keep in touch during this time using things like WhatsApp. And the first one of those will be taking place on the 7th of April. There'll be a regular Tuesday lunchtime slot, and we can share the details of that afterwards as well. So I'm just checking in on time, because this seems to have gone very quickly today, our webinar. So just keeping an eye on the clock there. Message here from Jill saying, can we please also mention there are other sources of support? As an aphasia specialist, I manage a charity for people affected by aphasia with a tech service and remote support. I'm sure we'd be happy if you drop us a line to share details of that. It says that they are already linked in with the Stroke Association. So I think, yeah, any support that we can give to people, that would be great to follow up after that. So yes. There's another specific question here from Michael saying, in terms of apps to support short-term memory loss. Laura, I think there were some apps in one of the batches that you looked at there, weren't there, in terms of the cognition and memory? There was a number of apps that we've listed, and we can share the link afterwards. Just checking in with you on that one. I can see Laura nodding on her webcam. So thank you. Okay. So I think we're almost getting to the point to start wrapping up, actually. Any other questions coming through? There's a question about Northern Ireland and volunteers in the Southern Trust region. Quite a specific question there. I can certainly take that back to the guys in the volunteer team and see whether we can answer that question as well. Emma has a question specifically for Laura in terms of collaborating to decide what would be helpful or based on your own expertise. I don't know, Laura, if you or Sean have anything to say on that, but as I've already mentioned, my stroke guide was very much a piece of work that was designed in collaboration with stroke survivors. It was very much an exercise in co-creation. Sian, do you have anything to add on that one in terms of collaborating?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Sarah said, my stroke guide has been developed with stroke survivors, but also the work we're doing as an organisation at the moment. There's a project that's a partnership work between our digital team and our aphasia specialists, looking at how we can bring in stroke survivors and work with stroke survivors to rate, if you like, inverted commas, apps. So we're developing a set of criteria to underpin this work. And the criteria are being developed with stroke survivors as well. So stroke survivors are involved in the design of that piece of work and that kind of standard quality assurance piece around apps. So yes, absolutely.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm just having a few sound issues on my end. Great. So, I am just going to pop up the last here, which is, as I say, these are slides which have further information in terms of where people can go. So I'm not going to read all of these out. Just going to, brief overview. We have plenty of fact sheets on our website. There is an AbilityNet helpline number there. My Computer My Way is a fantastic online tool which is free and which can help you do things like voice dictation on your existing devices. We've already mentioned the apps which Laura's very kindly given us an overview of. So we'll round and also some of the answers to the specific questions that we've had during the course of the webinar. There's some links which have been provided by Stroke Association here. Very grateful to them again for their collaboration in terms of putting this webinar together, but also providing this signposting here which can help people, and the slide deck and a recording and some further information will be made available to all of you after the webinar. Yeah, Headway, link to Headway, who I'm also familiar with, fantastic organisation to help people affected by brain injury, and just a note there to say there's some information on their website as well. So this is what we mentioned earlier, the Aphasia Software Finder from the Tavistock Trust for Aphasia. They've got lots of information in terms of apps there. And there's also a link here to some specific therapy apps as well. Lawrence.
I've just to let you know, I've downloaded one of the those apps from Tactus, and I'm about to evaluate it.
Okay, brilliant. So keeping yourself informed, which is fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Lawrence. Okay. So just like to say a big thank you, and we will be sending everybody a feedback form after the event, which will include a Q&A, further webinars you might ask us to deliver. As I've already said, the slides, the transcripts and a recording of the webinar will also be made available to everyone. Thank you so much for taking part and for taking part in the polls and submitting the Q&As. We haven't managed to get to all of them during the course of the webinar, but there's plenty of information that we can share afterwards. So just to say a big thank you to everybody and for everyone for taking part.